Debbie was a whore. She'd been like that the whole time I'd known her, which was almost 10 years, since 11th grade. For some strange reason known only to God, my wife Tammy and Debbie became best friends. Despite the fact that Debbie was a slut, I never slept with her. Not that I didn't want to, because the girl was great. Seriously, she was great. But just before I turned 16, my dad sat me down next to her and talked about life. Not about the birds and the bees, but about life. About the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I listened because I thought my dad knew what he was talking about. During this conversation, I learned that Daddy and Mommy got married because they had to. My mom got my dad pregnant, and when the families found out, they forced my parents to get married. And you know that I have never berated your mother in your presence, but in order for you to understand what I'm getting at, I have to do it now. Your mother was a whore. Honestly, that's why I was with her. I was a horny guy and your mother was easy prey. I knew she was a slut, but I didn't care because I was having sex while most guys my age weren't. I wasn't thinking about a steady girlfriend, let alone marriage. I was only thinking about women. Oddly enough, your mother stopped sleeping with other guys when she started sleeping with me. So when she told me she was pregnant, about 4 months after we started having fun, there was no doubt that you were mine. I dropped out of college and her dad got me into the Tool and Die program at Kelsey. I guess I was a little naive. I thought that once you got married, your mom would turn into a housewife and mother, and for a couple years that's what happened. But there's a saying that whore today, whore forever, and that saying held true when it came to your mother. It was 3 years after we were married and I was working my shift. I was machining a billet on the lathe when it splintered and a splinter hit my hand. They took me to the hospital where they removed the splinter, stitched up my arm, and sent me home. I walked into the house and found your mother in bed with one of my so-called friends. He jumped out of bed, grabbed his pants, and jumped out the bedroom window. There was a lot of crying and begging. She went out with your Aunt Ruth and a couple of friends, and they drank heavily, and I let her convince me that he took advantage of her while she was drunk. We made up, but 6 months later I caught her again. There was the same begging and pleading as the first time, but this time I kicked her out of the house. Then both families got on me, so I gave up and took her back. A year later I caught her again and threw her out again, and again both families started urging me to take her back. That time I mustered up the courage to tell them that she was not coming back into my life again, and if they didn't shut up, she would be out of my life too. 3 months later she left town with some guy she met at a bar. A year later, I divorced her for leaving me. A couple years later, I found out she died of AIDS somewhere in Nevada. I always told you she died of cancer because I didn't think you should know the truth about your mom while you were so young. I mean, you're at a point in your life where your hormones are starting to run rampant. Learn from your dad. If a girl's too easy to get, you don't want her. If a girl's too easy to get as far away from here as you can. Let some other poor schmuck ruin his life for her. I listened to what Dad said and took it to heart. I did ignore some of it, and I did fall in love a couple times with a girl who was easy, but I always wore a rubber band to protect myself from getting sick and not becoming a daddy. That's exactly what I did until Fred Ingram had to marry Barb Beeler because the rubber band tore. After that, the easy girl became taboo for me, and that's the reason I never had a hot Debbie. Why are we having this conversation? To set the scene. Because Debbie was sitting on the couch in my living room. It was Friday night, and Tammy had stayed the night at her sick mother's house and would not be home until her father returned from his business trip Saturday morning. Tammy left, and Debbie sat on my couch and tried her best to seduce me. Why would I think that? Let's call it an educated guess. An assumption based on the fact that she was wearing a miniskirt, 10-inch heels, a low-cut blouse and no bra, and was sitting across from me on the couch with her legs spread wide. And let's not forget that Debbie was a whore. As she babbled something nonsensical, I mentally went back in time. Debbie had tried to sleep with me a few times. We dated once or twice, and if it had been before Fred instead of after, she would have succeeded. But it was after Fred, and I shied away from her. Debbie went back east to go to college, and I stayed back home and went to state. My sophomore year, I met Tammy, and by the end of my freshman year, we were engaged and about to be married. Debbie had someone in her family die, and she had to transfer to State University to finish college. The state had a requirement that you work a minimum of 30 credit hours at the university to get your degree, but Debbie had a very influential family, and they had good lawyers. They managed to get that number down to 20. Debbie was determined to graduate on time, so during summer school before her senior year and throughout her senior year, she carried a 24-hour load. I said she was a slut. I never said she was stupid. Tammy, my fiancée, was a party animal her freshman year and skipped a couple classes. Determined to graduate with me, she also attended classes before our senior year. I spent that summer working as an intern at an engineering firm in Dallas, and when I returned home just before the start of my senior year, I discovered that during my absence, Tammy and Debbie had somehow bonded and became fast friends. I'd be lying if I said it didn't bother me. I spent many nights wondering if Tammy was seeing Debbie in the evenings. It had been a few years since I had last seen Debbie, and she might have changed, but I remembered her as a slut, and remembering my dad's words, "Once a slut, always a slut," I assumed she was still one. The question was, did she do it while Tammy was with her? Hell yeah, I was worried. I kept sniffing around, but I never found anything that gave me any clue. Graduating senior year, and Tammy and I got married. A year later, Debbie met Dennis Frazier. They married, and Debbie seemed to have changed. Debbie and Tammy maintained their friendship, and we would invite Debbie and Dennis over for barbecues and go to their pool parties. About a year after Debbie and Dennis were married, she returned to her promiscuous habits. I don't know if Dennis knew, but I doubted it, and if he did, Tammy kept it from me. I only knew it because I had seen Debbie and Mark Mosser making love in the back seat of Mark's Impala in the parking lot of the bar the night of Gene Greniger's birthday party. When I later asked Mark about it, he told me that he had seen her have Phil Reed at Mike Matson's party and thought he might give it a try. Mark said I should try it if I ever got the chance. "This is a first-class girl. I've never tried anything better and don't expect I ever will." After that, I carefully watched Tammy's actions when she was next to Debbie. I finished my musings when Debbie said, "We've known each other a long time, Frank, and I have a problem that I need your help with." "I'll help if I can, Debbie." "What's the problem?" "It's very personal, but you've known me a long time and you know what I was like in high school. If I was still like that, I'd do what I did then and just sleep with some guy. I can't do that now that I'm a married lady." "What do you need, Debbie?" "This is what I need for my mental health, Frank. I'm coming to you because I know I can trust you. I know what happens here stays here." "Stop beating around the bush, Debbie. What do you want?" "I want you to make love to me." "Are you crazy?" "My God, Debbie, Tammy's gonna kill me, and Dennis will probably try to do it before Tammy does." "Tammy will never find out, and Dennis won't do anything even if he does. He'll be too busy hiding." "He's hiding?" "That's what this is about. I want to get even with Dennis. Dennis had an affair with one of the girls he works with. Now it's over, and he doesn't know that I know. I'm unhappy with him now, but I love the jerk and see no reason to ruin my marriage over it. The problem is that I'm determined that I can't let him get away with it without doing something to even the score, even if he never finds out. I have to get even, but it has to be with someone I know will keep quiet about it." "How about it, Frank? I know you wanted me when we were in high school, and I know you were interested in thinking about getting busy with me. When we went to the club with Tammy and Dennis and you danced with me, I felt that interest with my foot. It's our secret, Frank. Just the two of us." Something was wrong here. Debbie and Tammy were as close as sisters, and neither of them would ever betray the other. Suddenly it occurred to me that Debbie was trying to set me up. She wanted me to screw her so Tammy would have something to hold an axe over my head for. That meant that Tammy had either done something or was about to do something that she might need the get-out-of-jail-free card for if I found out, and the only thing I could think of that she might need it for was cheating. That would be exactly what Debbie said she wanted for Dennis. You did it so I could do the same. In my case, it would be, "What? You can sleep with Debbie, but I can't sleep with anyone." "Oh no, Frank, there's no double standard in this house." Obviously, Debbie didn't know that I was aware that she was acting like a slut again. If Dennis was sleeping with a woman where he worked, it was probably because he was trying to get even with Debbie. Either Tammy was cheating on me and wanted insurance in case I found out, or she was planning to cheat and wanted insurance. I didn't know which it was, but I was damn sure I was going to find out, and the only way to do it was to play along. It's a damn tempting offer, Debbie, but I can't take it. At least not today. My cousin Lou's on his way down here to help me fix the brakes on my truck. He should be here any minute, and of course Tammy will be there. I have no idea when she'll be back. I won't be able to help you tomorrow because I'll be helping my dad rebuild the roof on his barn. Call me sometime Monday afternoon at work and we'll see if we can arrange something, but you'll have to be damn sure Tammy never finds out about this. Don't worry about it, Frank. She'll never find out. I walked her to the door, and as I stared after her, I didn't know what pissed me off more, that my wife thought I would sleep with her, or that Debbie thought I was as much of a cheater as she was. When she left, I headed for the garage. 2 years earlier, Lou had suspected his wife was cheating on him and had come to me for help to find out. Lou wasn't good with instruments. Give him one and he'd find a way to hurt himself. I tapped into the internet and figured out how to tap a phone line, then put a tap on his home phone. Turns out Martha wasn't cheating on him, and when the dust settled, I took the wiretap off, but I still had the recorder. I pulled the necessary tools out of the toolbox, and 20 minutes later, I had the house phone hooked up. I doubted Debbie would call Tammy at her mother's house for fear my mother-in-law would hear anything, and Tammy didn't have a cell phone at the moment. She had dropped hers in the toilet, don't ask, and we had ordered a replacement, but it hadn't arrived yet, so any conversations between Debbie and Tammy had to be done face-to-face or on our home phone. Once I had the phone in place, I grabbed myself a beer and went out to sit on the patio and drink it, contemplating what to do if my loving wife lost her way or was about to. Tammy wasn't home when I headed to the golf course. I had a date with my cousin Lou and 2 friends. We had a game scheduled for 10 o'clock, and I figured Tammy would get home around 11 or so. And if it was a normal day, I wouldn't get home until 4 in the afternoon. Tammy and Debbie had plenty of time to talk on the phone, and if they didn't talk that day, they could always talk tomorrow, because I wasn't lying when I told Debbie I was going to help my dad on the roof of his barn. By the time I leave the house for work on Monday, I should have some idea of what's going on. I had a good day on the course and almost tied for the first time in my life, but the 9th ball hit a sand trap on the 18th hole and ruined everything. It took me 2 shots to get out, and I was so mad at myself that I took 3 shots and ended up 3 over par at 75 points. Still, not a bad day for a weekend duffer. Tammy was home when I arrived, and I wasn't surprised when she pulled me into the bedroom. We were used to good privacy, and she'd been gone for 3 days. We had a tedious fumble, and then I took her out to dinner. When we got home, she wanted to play some more, and of course I agreed. When she fell asleep, I got out of bed and went downstairs to check the recorder on the phone line. Hello? Hi. It's me. I just got home. Frank left to play golf, so I'm home alone. How'd it go? He was interested, but he wouldn't do it because his cousin was coming over, and he wasn't sure when you could come home. He asked me to call him at work on Monday afternoon. From the way he was looking at my boobs, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it. Are you really sure you want to do this? I'm sure. I've never really had it before, and I want to try it just once. You know there's no guarantee that even if I fuck Frank, he'll go with the "you did it so I can" scenario. He would. He loves me, and he knows I love him. Things may not go smoothly for a while, but we'll be fine. He's your hubby, so I think you know him better than I do, but the Frank I knew before he married you wouldn't agree to what you're hoping for. I'm not trying to talk you out of it, Tammy, but you've got one hell of a boyfriend. Are you sure you want to take the risk? It's going to be okay, Debbie. He won't find out. I just need insurance in case he finds out by some freak accident. Okay, baby, but it's on you. I tried to warn you. Hey, girl, this is your fault from the start. This is my fault? How do you figure that? If you'd hooked me up with a couple boys before I married Frank, I wouldn't be so curious to know what another man is like. That's not fair, Tammy. I didn't even know Dennis then, and until I met him, you had different boys than I had. Still, it's your fault. You shouldn't have told me how big Dennis was. It's Dennis's fault, not mine. He liked you from the day he met you, and he kept pushing and pushing me to find a way to get you two together. Ask Frank to do you, and Dennis will get his wish. Call me and let me know how Monday goes. Are you sure you want to wait? Frank said he'd be gone all day Sunday to help his father. You'll have the whole day to satisfy your curiosity while Frank's away. No, I'd rather wait till next week. Frank said the other day that he may have to fly to San Diego for a training seminar next week. If he goes, he'll be gone for a couple days, and that's when I want to do it. Okay. I'll call you after I talk to Frank. I went back to bed worried. If Tammy carries out her plan, we're screwed. I wouldn't live with a cheating wife. I grew up without a mother because of cheating, and it was something I just couldn't deal with. I spent so long thinking about what I should do about this situation. It's just amazing how I didn't fall off the roof of the barn because my thoughts were far away and not on what I was doing. As I drove home from my dad's, I already knew what I was going to do. I was going to take it on from the start. When I got home, Tammy wanted to hook up before dinner, which we did, and then while she was making dinner, I went down to the basement and checked the recorder. Tammy didn't talk to Debbie, but she did talk to Dennis. Cell phone rings. Hello? Hey, sexy. You shouldn't have called here, Dennis. What if Frank had answered? Debbie told me he'd be gone all day. What if there was a change of plans? What if he was still here? He's not, so it's no big deal. I know he left because I parked at the end of the block and saw him leave. I can be through your door in less than a minute. Dennis, no. That doesn't happen until next week. Come on, sexy lady. You know you want to feel me pulsing 30 centimeters inside you? We can do it tonight and next week. I said no, Dennis. Yeah, I really want to feel it, but not until I get things right. Oh, come on. I said no, which means no, damn it. And she hung up. After dinner, Tammy wanted to have some more fun, and I figured I'd better take advantage of it since it's likely to be a little chilly in our house after Monday. Monday was a pretty busy Monday at work, and I was on the road most of the time until lunchtime. Work is only a 10-minute walk from home, so I had a quick lunchtime drive home. Mail is usually delivered between 9 and 10, and UPS and FedEx usually deliver to our neighborhood in the morning. I was in luck. At&T had sent Tammy a new phone, and the package was sitting on the porch. I grabbed it and headed back to work. Tammy wasn't allowed to take personal calls at work, and without a cell phone, she could only communicate with Debbie or on her home phone. I suppose Tammy could have stopped somewhere and used a payphone, but I just couldn't imagine Tammy talking in a phone booth about personal business. At 2 o'clock, Debbie called me, and after exchanging greetings, I got right to the point. We're not going out, Debbie. I know your story about wanting to get even with Dennis is bullshit, because I know about you sleeping with Phil Reed at Matson's birthday party, and I personally saw you sleeping with Mark Mosser in the backseat of his Impala. I know about a few other things you've done. I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not going to be one of the players. So thanks for the offer, but no, I guess she didn't take the rejection very well, because she hung up without saying another word. I got home 10 minutes earlier than Tammy, opened a bottle of Merlot, and was sitting at the kitchen table with 2 glasses when she walked in. She walked in, saw the ambiance, and asked, "What's the occasion?" "Just need to clear something up. Sit down and take a sip while I tell you the story." She sat down and I said, "I misled you. Well, to be honest, I lied to you. I told you that my mother died of cancer when I was little, but that was a lie. I said it because I was ashamed of the truth. My mother didn't die of cancer. She died of AIDS." I retold Tammy what my father had told me and then added, "I can't stand cheaters, Tammy. My mother cheated on my father, and I grew up without a mother as a result. He forgave her twice, but when it happened the 3rd time, he kicked her out. There is no room in my heart for cheating. Why am I bringing this up now? Because I need to set the record straight, so to speak. Debbie paid me a visit Friday night," and I went on to describe what the visit was about and what was said. "It was all bullshit, Tammy. I don't know if Dennis is cheating with her or not, but if he is, it's just to get even with her. I told Tammy everything I knew about Debbie, Mark, Debbie, and Phil Reed, and then I said, Debbie was a slut in high school and still is, and that's how I realized that the story she told me was absolute bullshit. It begs the question as to why she would come here and spew all that nonsense at me. I'm not stupid, Tammy. I may not be the sharpest knife in the world, but I'm not stupid. You and Debbie are thick as thieves, and I don't believe either of you would betray the other. From this, I draw the inescapable conclusion that you knew of her visit. I asked myself why you two would pull a stunt like that, and I came to another inescapable conclusion. You were setting me up. You wanted me to screw Debbie so you'd have something to blackmail me with, and the only reason I could see why you wanted to do that was because you'd either done something or were planning to do something, which you thought you might need a get-out-of-jail-free card for. This thought led to the question of what it could have been, and led me to my third inevitable conclusion. You've already cheated on me or planned to. If I accepted Debbie's proposal, and if you cheated on me and I found out, you would say something like, "You did it, so you can't berate me for doing it too." That's not gonna happen, Tammy. I'm not living with a cheater. You're a grown woman and I can't tell you what you can or can't do. But I can tell you what I'll do if I find out you cheated on me. I'll throw you in the trash so fast it'll take your shadow a week to catch up with you. As I spoke, Tammy's face grew redder and redder. She was seething with anger and she couldn't hide it. How dare you talk to me like that? May I, Tammy? I asked to interrupt her. I've already told you I'm not stupid. No amount of bluster and outrage is going to change anything. I've stated my position to you. What you do with that knowledge is up to you. I'm going to go to Bud's for a burger and a beer. You'll have some time alone to digest what I've said and decide if you want to live with me or not. I walked out of the house and headed to the bar. Damn, you guys just wouldn't get it. The first person I saw when I walked into Bud's was Dennis. My natural inclination was to walk up to him and punch him in the face, but of course I couldn't do that. I couldn't ignore him because of our supposed friendship. I couldn't let him know I was following him because that would probably give away the fact that I had a way of getting information, and it would probably give away the phone tapping. I swallowed that and walked over and sat down on the bar stool next to him. We chatted for a bit, watching the AVs versus Red Wings game on the TV hanging over the bar. After a little while, he paid for his drink and got up to leave, saying he needed to get home before Debbie got mad at him. He left, and I wondered if Debbie would be mad at him if he couldn't help her. If he ended up screwing Tammy, I would do my best to screw him and his balls big time. Around 10 o'clock, I decided that was enough for today and headed home. When I got there, Tammy was already in bed, so I went down to the basement and checked the tapped phone. Cell phone rings. Hello? Hey, girlfriend. Bad news. When I called him, he blew me off. He realized my story was bullshit because he knows I'm sleeping with other guys. It's much worse than that. He realized why and warned me that if he caught me cheating, he would kick me out. So what are you gonna do? Don't get caught. Are you sure that's wise? If he suspects anything, he'll be watching you like a hawk from now on. How's he gonna know? I'm always at your house anyway. The only people who will know are you, Dennis, and me, and we're certainly not going to talk to anyone about it. He'll keep an eye on me in the evenings when I'm out and check on me when I'm not home, but he won't suspect a thing when I'm at your house. Maybe if I was with you, but not when I'm at your house. He'd know I wouldn't do anything if Dennis was there. Maybe. I realize he didn't expect you to do anything while you were here. He doesn't know it's the fox guarding the henhouse. Are you sure you want to take the risk? You have a damn good marriage, and I know you love this guy, and I have no doubt in my mind that he loves you. Are you sure you're willing to risk it all just because you're curious what a big boyfriend looks like? I wouldn't do it under any other circumstances, but there's no risk here. There's no risk at all in doing it in your house. Frank will know I'm in your house, and he won't even think about Dennis. While Dennis is doing me, Frank will be sitting around watching TV. If he'll think about me at all, it will only be about you and me sitting at your kitchen table exchanging recipes or talking about some other womanly things. It said, and when you get home and he wants to make love to you, how are you going to explain your crabbiness? That's exactly why I don't want to do it till next week. Frank will be in San Diego for 3 days attending a seminar. He's leaving Wednesday morning and won't be back until late Friday or early Saturday, and my period should start around Friday. That will give me plenty of time to get myself back to normal. I hate to keep bringing this up, but are you absolutely sure you want to risk your marriage just to find out what another man is like? If you're so worried about my marriage, why did you even tell me about how big Dennis was? You know what a slut I was before I married Frank, and you should have known how I'd react when I saw that huge piece of meat. This is all your fault, girl. You set it off when you told Dennis to get it and show it to me. I'm just surprised I didn't do it right away. All right, girlfriend, let's do it next Wednesday. There was more to it, but I got the gist of it, and what I did was pretty much ruin my marriage. I disconnected the recorder from the phone line and then went upstairs to the bedroom and turned on the light. Tammy was asleep, but woke up when I started pulling drawers open and closed, pulling out her things and carrying them across the hall to the guest bedroom. She sat up and asked, "What are you doing, Frank? What are you doing with my clothes?" "I'm evicting you, Tammy." "Evicting me? I'm not going anywhere." "Oh, yes, you are, Tammy. You're moving into a spare bedroom until you find somewhere else to live. Maybe Debbie will let you move in with her and Dennis. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Being able to be near him and all that?" "Are you out of your mind, Frank?" "No, I just found out my wife's a whore. How dare you talk to me like that?" "Easy, Tammy. All I had to do was listen to you make plans to cheat on me." "Are you out of your mind?" "No. But you must have been crazy if you thought you could get away with what you were planning." I pulled the recorder out of my pocket, set it on the dresser, pressed the play button, and then watched her eyes widen and the paint peel away from her face as she listened to herself lay out her plan to cheat on me. I took her by the arm, dragged her off the bed, grabbed the recorder, and dragged her into the guest bedroom. I pushed her onto the bed, set the recorder on the bedside table, and said, "This was recorded after I told you I had zero tolerance for cheating. You either didn't believe me or you didn't care. Either way, you're out of here. I'm giving you a week to find a place to sleep, and if you're not out by then, I'm taking you outside and putting you on the curb. A week from today will also be trash pickup day, and how appropriate is that? You can get the rest of your stuff out of the bedroom while I'm at work." I left the bedroom and went down to the kitchen, got a beer out of the fridge, and went out to the patio. I sat down and drank the beer until I calmed down. I had almost finished my beer when Tammy came out and asked in a weak voice, "Can we talk frankly?" I stood up and said, "No, we can't." And I got up and headed for the bedroom. When I got up in the morning and went down to the kitchen, Tammy was already there. It didn't look like she had gone to bed, or if she had, she wasn't sleeping very well. When I entered the room, she looked up at me and said, "Coffee is ready." I took the cup, added creamer, and went out on the patio to drink it while admiring the sunrise. Tammy came out and sat next to me. She was quiet, and I just didn't pay attention to her. After about a minute, she said, "Are you really going to throw me out, without even talking to me? What's there to talk about? Last night, before I went to the bar, I made my position clear. You knew exactly where I stood when it came to cheating. Not 30 minutes after I left the house, you were already ready to call Debbie and arrange a time for you to cheat on me. All I'm doing is dumping you before you have a chance to do it. That's what we need to talk about. I wasn't going to do that." As I hung up the phone, I thought about what Debbie had said. She was right. I do have a damn good marriage, and I do have a damn good husband. I thought long and hard about it, Frank, and decided I was doing too well to risk losing it. By the time I thought it over, it was too late to call Debbie back. But I was going to call her as soon as you left for work and cancel. Honestly, Frank, I wasn't going to follow through on that. That's what you're saying now that I got you, but unfortunately for you, I don't trust you anymore. For all I know, you're lying to me about changing your mind. In my opinion, you are trying to prevent possible consequences, and everything you say only serves your interests. I don't trust you anymore, and I'm not inclined to waste the time and effort it would take to make sure you didn't carry out your plans. I'm on too many business trips, and I'm not going to spend my time away from home wondering if you're cheating on me or not. And you spend too much time at Debbie's, time you could be using to sleep with Dennis. No, Tammy, you screwed up when you made your cheating plans after I warned you. I can't trust you, and I'm not going to spend my life wondering where you are and what you're doing when I'm not around. And it's not just business trips. When I come to help my father, I'm usually gone for 10 or 12 hours. When I play golf, I'm gone 5 or 6 hours. Debbie and Dennis are only 5 minutes away, so while I'm gone, I'll think about what you could be doing, and I just won't live like that. I'm going to end my relationship with Debbie. You say you'll do that, but if I'm not here, how will I know you're not visiting? You know what I'm saying, Tammy? I just don't trust you anymore. I've been sitting here listening to you lay out your plans to sleep with Dennis while I'm gone. I've listened to your plan for everything. You chose the timing so that my trip and period would provide you with all the cover you needed. It was an elaborate plan to give me the horns. It didn't matter to you that you were a married woman who had taken a vow of fidelity. You can't do this to me, Frank. You know I love you. Do you? Thanks to the phone tap. I know you love me so much that you were a whore like Debbie here while I was in Dallas and stayed faithful to you. From what I've heard, it's a wonder you didn't invite me home from Texas with an STD. Considering what I heard on the tapes, I wonder if you cheated on me the whole time we were married. I think about all those nights you went to bachelorette parties with Debbie and the other girls, and I wonder if you cheated on me then. You can say you never did, but why should I believe you? You say you're going to end your relationship with Debbie, but why should I believe you? You say you changed your mind about sleeping with Dennis, but why should I believe you? You can swear on a stack of Bibles that you'll never cheat on me, but why should I believe you? After hearing how you carefully planned to make a cuckold out of me, why should I believe anything you say? Damn it, Frank, you gotta give me a chance. You gotta give us a chance. How can I do that, Tammy? I don't trust you. How can we stick together when I don't trust you, when I don't believe a word you say? Tell me, Tammy, how can I give you a chance under these circumstances? If you can figure out how I can do that, let me know. I got up, went up to the bedroom, and got dressed for work. Tammy was taking a shower getting ready for work, and I grabbed the recorder from the bedside table, took it down to the basement, and plugged it back into the phone line. I was sure that Tammy was too shocked to notice that the recorder was missing, and that she would call Debbie after I got out of the house and headed to work. I had a lot on my plate at work and didn't have time to think about Tammy's situation. I left work early so I could get home before Tammy and check the recorder. Tammy didn't call or answer the phone, so I turned on the old recorder and recorded what was on it onto the new recorder, then threw the old one on the floor behind the bedside table and plugged the new one into the phone line. I got in my truck and drove to Bud's bar, and when my beer arrived, I called home and left a message on the answering machine that I'd be back late. I had a few guys I knew at the bar, so we got together and played pool and drank beer until 11, at which point I decided to call it a night and go home. Tammy was in the guest bedroom, and I didn't know if she was asleep or awake, and I didn't care, not even trying to find out. I went downstairs and checked to see if the phone was ringing. There were calls from her sister and her mother, but this was the third call that interested me. Hello? Hi. It's me. What's up? I got caught. Caught? What does that mean? Apparently, your visit to Frank made him very suspicious, so he plugged the recorder into the phone line. He has everything we talked about. He knows we planned for me to try your hubby's boyfriend. He wasn't happy. He kicked me out of our bedroom, and he's talking about divorce. So, we're being recorded right now? No. He gave me a tape recorder and made me listen to it. It's on the bedside table in the guest bedroom where he put me to bed last night. So what are you gonna do? I don't know if there's anything I can do. He's been adamant that he doesn't trust me anymore. He wouldn't believe anything I told him. He gave me a week to find a place to stay. Said if I wasn't out by the next trash day, he'd put me on the curb next to the dumpsters. You can stay with us. Dennis would love that. That's the last thing I'll do. In fact, after talking to you, I've decided that you're 100% right and that I shouldn't risk what I have out of curiosity. I was going to call you this morning and cancel. But by then it was too late because Frank had already listened to the tape. Maybe it would have been okay if he had waited until today to listen, because then he would have heard me calling and canceled the appointment. I can't imagine him carrying out his threat and kicking you out. Anyone can see that this man loves you, and I know you love him. He just needs time to cool off. You didn't hear him, Debbie. His tone was the coldest I've ever heard. I really believe he was being sincere. The fact that I understand what he's getting at doesn't help at all. He does go on business trips that sometimes cause him to disappear for days at a time, and after what he heard on the recorder, why should he believe I'll be well-behaved while he's gone? What's worse is that he heard what a slut I was while he was away in Texas, and now he thinks I probably cheated on him throughout our marriage. I'm surprised you didn't. I'd bet good money that you would have continued to act like a crazy whore even after you said yes to Frank. It's called love. I love him so much that I didn't even think about other guys until you brought up your hubby's size and my curiosity took over my common sense. I can't believe I let that happen. It must be that 7-year itch. Your 7th anniversary is coming up. It doesn't look like I'm gonna make it, and it sucks. I already bought a card and a gift. I wish I could tell you what to do, but I have no idea. Honestly, I can't even agree with you on this one. I've only had such strong feelings for one man in my life, and other than a couple dates, I would never have anything in common with him. He could have saved me from what I am. Deep down, I know that if I could have him, no other man would ever touch me. You didn't stop when you married Dennis. That's because Dennis and I don't love each other. It may be strong, but it's far from love. Then why did you two get married? It's a marriage of convenience, Tammy. Dennis needed a wife for appearances. He wanted to be seen as a family man at work, but he needed a wife who understood that he could never be a single man. As for me, I was tired of being single and living in a studio apartment, but I needed a man who could put up with me wanting to play on the side, so Dennis and I were perfect for each other. And so far, it's working. But I can tell you that there is a man who could make me leave Dennis and become a single woman, and I would do it without a second thought. But it would only happen in my dreams. It doesn't make sense. On the one hand, you say you can't be a single woman. On the other hand, you say you'd be a single woman if you had this mystery guy. It doesn't make sense. Of course it does, girlfriend. You said it yourself. It's called love. How the hell did we even bring it up? We were talking about your problem. In my opinion, the only thing you can do is somehow convince Frank that you weren't going to follow through with your plan and that you love him so much that you would never do anything that would cost you his life and your marriage. But how could I do that? You'd have to find someone a lot smarter than me to answer that question, so she was going to call and cancel. That's interesting. But did it change anything? She could have changed her mind at any moment. The curiosity hadn't gone anywhere. She could have sworn on a stack of Bibles that she'd never cheat on me, but could I believe her? Knowing what I knew now, could I ever believe her? Because of her curiosity, she was willing to cheat on me, and it was only her stupid plan to set me up that ruined everything, so could I be sure that her curiosity wouldn't cause her to cheat if she ever thought she was absolutely sure she could get away with it? The fact that I'd fallen in love with her from the moment I'd met her didn't help my decision in any way. Did I dare to give her the presumption of innocence? I was glad to hear that she hadn't cheated on me since we took our vow of fidelity, and she seemed sincere when she said she loved me and didn't want to lose me or our marriage. But did I dare take the risk? The problem was I had no way of knowing. She could do whatever she wanted while I was gone, and I wouldn't know it unless I was willing to bankrupt myself by paying private investigators to watch her while I was gone. Then another thought hit me. What if Tammy noticed the recorder was gone and didn't look to see if it was on the floor? What if she saw it was gone and thought I had plugged it back into the phone line? What if the conversation I was listening to was bullshit I needed to hear? It was that thought that made me make the decision. It was a testament to the fact that I would always think about what if I stayed with Tammy. Doubt was always with me, and everything she said or did made me look at it from different angles, trying to figure out what was true and what wasn't. What was a lie and what wasn't. The bottom line is that trust was gone. The love may still be there, but the trust is gone. I would question everything she said and did, and I wouldn't live like that. I would make an appointment with a lawyer as soon as I got to work in the morning.